something for the future anyway. Thank God for them. So today we are reading from the book of Deuteronomy 32, where God is speaking to his people through his prophets, Moses. And it says, "Give ear, heavens, and I will speak. Hear, O earth, and the words of my mouth. My adoption shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers from the grass." So God is saying through his prophet that, look, his words shall fall, as the rain falls, one little drops, and it's that rain that will make the plants grow. So, just like the dew that will fall on the tender herbs and make them grow. In other words, these words, they are the words that will change our lives and make us grow in him spiritually. They are the spiritual food that we need to make us grow in the Lord. Just like we eat in the physical, we also need to eat spiritually. And these are the words he's telling us, he's talking to us, for us to use, for us to be able to make us grow spiritually and physically. So, he says, "I will publish the name of the Lord. He is the rock. His work is perfect." That's the first point. God is a rock. This is why many times we have the rock of Michael in the church. And we do spiritual works, where the victory works on the rock, because that rock symbolizes our Lord Jesus Christ. He said, he is the rock. His work is perfect. That means God's work cannot be queried, cannot be questioned. There is no error in him. We can't say, oh, why did God do this? God could have done this. No. Just like the word of God is inerrant, which means there is no error. The same thing says that God is perfect. God is perfect. No human being can fault what God does and say, oh, this is not good. No. We are only saying that because your knowledge is so small compared to God's knowledge. His work is perfect. 2 Samuel 22:31. 2 Samuel 22:31. So whenever things happen, many people, they start murmuring and complaining. Oh, why did 9/11 happen? How could God allow this to happen? And all this stuff. But you cannot, it says, as the mountains, as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. We cannot figure God out. Go on.
As for God,
yes.
He is perfect.
Yes.
The word of the Lord
Uh-huh.
is a shield to all who trust Him.
That is it. It's a shield to all those who trust in him. How many of us trust God? How many of us trust him? Can we truly say we trust him? If you can truly say we trust him, then he will be our shield. He will be a shield to trust us if we trust him. But many of us claim to trust God, but when the time comes, when we're being tested, we run helter-skelter. You see, we can say we trust him, but your true trust depends on when you go through that tribulation. That's when your true trust in God will determine it. For those who can say, Lord, I trust you, I'm not going to go anywhere, you are the one that's going to save me, God will be the shield and the protection. And it says, all his ways are judgments. All his ways are judgment. What does that mean? That means that God judges things. Nowadays, there's this doctrine that's going around that God is all love, and that God won't do this, God won't do that. Oh, in fact, many people believe that God won't send people to hell. This is a big perversion. God is a God of judgments, and hell is real. So we need to understand that this God, as much as he's loving, he's also a God of judgments. He will judge us for our iniquities. We must always remember that. And this is where the fear of the Lord comes in. Let's go to Daniel 4:37. Daniel 4:37. It's a God of truth and without iniquity. There is no wickedness in him. Job 34 verse 10. Daniel 4:37. Job 34 verse 10. Just and right is he. He's a just God. He's a God full of truth. There is no iniquity in him. And his works are perfect. He's also a God of judgment. Whoever is there first. Daniel 4:37. Is anybody there? Yeah, go on.
Now I,
Yes.
Nebuchadnezzar,
Yes.
Praise and extol and honor the King of heaven.
Yes.
All of whose works are true.
Yes.
And his ways justice.
That's it. His ways justice. And let's go to Job 34 verse 10. So God is a God of judgments. Don't think we can just do iniquity and forgo, he forgoes it. Yeah, if you confess your sins, but he judges sin. We must always remember that if we have that in our mind, we will not sin against him. Go on.
Therefore, listening to me,
Yes.
you men of understanding,
Yes.
far be it from God to do wickedness,
Yes.
and from the Almighty to commit iniquity.
Far be it for God to do wickedness and to commit iniquity. You see, God, there is no iniquity in him. There is no wickedness in him. God is perfect. We cannot blame him. We cannot lay any blame on him. And he says they've corrupted themselves. Their sport is not the sport of his children. What's he referring to? Now, this is children. They have turned to what he did not want them to turn to. See? Their sport is not the sport of his children. They don't look anymore like his children. Why? Because they turned against him. Say, remember the days of old? Say, go back of the old past. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, ask, and they will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. In other words, this generation, just like right now in the church, the generation of the people in the church today, they haven't seen the power of God, and they don't know what God is like. And so God is referring them back. Go and ask your fathers, let them tell you. Just like people who started this church at the beginning, some of us who witnessed the earlier miracles of proportion from when he started the church, the way we see things is different from those who have not seen that. They haven't seen God's power in raw manifestation. So they don't know how to react. They don't know, they take things for granted. When you've seen people enter the church and the Spirit takes them and exposes their undergarments, red, and he says, this is why this is happening, you'll be afraid to wear red next time. When you see people enter the church, dip their hand in the holy water, and begin to confess that the ones that killed their mother, that the ones that killed their brothers, that the ones that did this and that, you think twice. In fact, there was a stage, I understand, by Pastor to ask God to reduce the power because people were afraid to come to the church. I said, if you go to that church, you will confess all your sins. Everybody will know your secrets. So people are afraid. This kind of power we witness. But if you haven't seen that, then you're doing all this rocket going around, all these things we see nowadays, there is no fear in your hearts. But those who have seen the power of God in close proximity will be afraid to violate any of his commandments. So God said, go back, you generation that you haven't seen me, haven't known me. Ask your fathers, they will tell you. So the last portion is his people. Jacob is his inheritance. We are God's people. We are in covenant with God. And describe how we found him in the wastelands, how God took them on wings, and how God led them. He said, the Lord led him, and there was no strange God with him. This is describing the journey of us, of we, his children. God took us from Egypt, when we were in the land of sin and iniquity. He cleansed us, he washed us his blood. We began to serve him, just like the Israelites were on the way to the promised land. In the wilderness, they served God. There was no other God with them. And God was close to them, they were close, they obeyed God's commandments. He made him ride on the high places of the earth. That's what happens to you when we serve God in truth and honesty. We ride on the high places. God blesses us, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock. Is that possible? How can you suck honey out of the rock? Well, because that rock is Jesus, and that honey represents the blessings of God that come when you worship him. Let's go to Job 29 verse 6. And oil out of the flinty rock talks of God's anointing power. Oil out of the flinty rock, and honey out of the rock. These are the blessings when we truly serve God in spirit and in truth, when we have no other God beside him. Job 29 verse 6.
When my steps were bathed with rain,
Yes.
and the rock poured out rivers of oil from me.
River. Go on. Yeah.
When I went out to the gate by the city,
Yes.
when I took my seat in the open square,
Yes.
the young man saw me and hid,
Yes.
and the aged arose and stood.
That's it. That's fine. Thank you. So the Lord continued. Said, butter of kine, milk of sheep. These are all symbolic of God's blessings. Fat of the lambs. You did drink the pure blood of the grape. Okay, talking of God's blessings to His people. When they served Him, truly they were one with Him. They didn't have any other gods. Said, but after some time, what happened? Jeshurun represents Israel, waxed fat and kicked, just like a cow. Kicked. In other words, they kicked against God's commandments. Isn't this true of many people in the church? Before they get to their promised land, before they get the job, before they meet the woman, before they buy the house, they're the first to arrive at the church and the last to leave. They are always present in the night vigils, special prayers, deliverance prayers, whatever. But then, after they get what they want, after they get that job, after they get the promotion, money is in the bank, car is in the driveway, house is there, everything, what happens? They kick against God. Say, do I have to come to that night vigil? You are the one that was always first there before. You don't come anymore for night vigil. You can't fast anymore. Even to pray is so difficult. So, are you the only one going to heaven? Why do you have to pray so much? I've had people tell me that. Say, look, you have to pray so much. You know, this is a dangerous spot for all of us. We must remember where we came from, because we don't want to anger God. God has blessed us, He's taken us to His promised land where He promised to take us. And the least we can do is to serve Him even more than before. But most of us relax. We relax because now we've got what we want. So just when you waxed fat and kicked, you are grown thick, you are covered with fatness. Some people, once they arrive, you can't even see their neck anymore. You only see their head and their shoulder because their neck is so thick. It's talking of being blessed and growing in that blessing. So then he forsook God, which made him and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. You see? He forsook God. You know, this is the picture of many of us. Once we get what we want, we hardly come to church. We don't do the services, we don't fast, we don't pray anymore. We are too busy with things of the world, with the position we're given, being chairman here, councillor there, president there, so many organizations, we can't even come to church anymore. That's exactly what happened to these people. The blessing that God blessed them was actually what made them turn against God. The God that gave them the blessing, they turned against Him once they received that blessing. So let's go to Isaiah 1 verse 4. Psalm 89, 26. Isaiah 1 verse 4. Psalm 89, 26. Isaiah 1 verse 4. Psalm 89, 26. Verse 4, yes.
Alas,
Yes.
sinful nation,
Uh-huh.
a people laden with iniquity,
Uh-huh.
a brood of evildoers,
Uh-huh.
children who are corrupted.
Children who are
They
corrupted.
have forsaken the Lord.
Yes.
They have provoked to anger.
Yes.
The Holy One of Israel.
Yes.
They have turned away backward.
That's all the way backwards. This is exactly like somebody backslid. Turn away backwards. They're going like this, and now they're going back. So we all need to wake up and check. Am I going away backwards? Does this refer to me? Have I gone weak in my prayer life compared to where I was before? Where I was before to go to where I am now. Am I praying as I used to pray? Am I fasting as I used to fast? Am I worshiping God as I used to do it? If you are not, if you see a difference, then you know that you are backsliding. And pray for God to restore you. Psalm 89, 26. Psalm 89, 26. So they provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils. You know, before they go to the promised land, gone, yes.
You shall pray to me, you are my father,
Yes.
my God, and the rock of my salvation.
Yes. The rock of my salvation. So whilst they were on the journey to the promised land, the wilderness, they had no other gods with them. they only worship God, and God blessed them mightily, gave them victory upon victory upon victory. But once they go to the promised land where everything was given to them, houses were built for them, wells were brought for them, the food was, everything was ready made. Then they got comfortable and began to worship idols. The people in the land began to copy them. This happened to many of us. Many of us, before we get to a promised land, we are so prayerful. Once you get that job, that wife, that house, become comfortable. We want to be like others, people in the neighborhood. On Sundays, they don't go to church, they have these parties. We want to be like them. These are exactly what happens to people. They copied the people in the land. You see? With strange gods and abominations, they sacrificed to devils, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came up nearly up. Many of the gods we have today, especially people who live in Canada, their new gods are their jobs. We have to go to work on Sunday. We have to do this shift. I have to buy this car. I have to buy that house. And because of that, they have no time for God. They don't have time to read the Bible anymore. All this is working, just to be able to buy that car, or buy that house, or buy this dress. We want to be like the Joneses, the neighbors. I want to live in that place. I want to have the same car. See, those are gods. It says, out of the rock that begat you, you are unmindful. You have forgotten God that formed thee. And so, when they did this, they invoked the wrath of God against them, and God sent them out of the promised land for 70 years. The same land that He gave them. They were supposed to be even worshiping God more. Don't think that thing you're asking for, when you get there, be very careful that you don't backslide. It's very, very easy to backslide. It's very, very easy. You don't think that, when I get there, many people say this, when I get to Canada, I'm going to do this for God, I'm going to do this. It's a lie. When they get there, you don't even see them in church. Talk less of doing anything for God's church. And many of them made vows to God. But when they got here, they say, I have to go for this job. I have to do this. And God remembers. I say, but you promised me you're going to do this now. You are there, you're not doing anything. May God forgive all of us. So, this warning is for all of us today. It's a very current message. It's not an old message because it affects all of us in the church. We have to be careful that we don't backslide when God has answered our prayers and blessed us mightily. We don't get comfortable. We don't become fat. It's talking of spiritual fatness, but also even in the physical, they are also very fat. There's no more hassling. You don't have to do 3 jobs anymore. You now have the house, you have the car, there's money in the bank. So I say, do you really have to get up and pray in the morning? You used to wake up at 6 o'clock to pray before. Do you have to get up at 6? Do you have to go for that night vigil? Begin to question things you did without even thinking before. Because now you are comfortable. So may God remove that spirit of backsliding from us. So go to the next passage. The book of Hebrews, reading the Apostle Paul, verses 12 to 17. It says, lift up the hands which hang down. This is exactly what we're talking about. The hands which hang down are referring to those things that you're not reluctant to do now. You that used to fast before, you can't fast anymore. Those are the hands that hang down is referring to. You that used to go to church, you don't go anymore. That's exactly what it's referring to. The hands which hang down and the feeble knees. Let's go to Job 4, 3 and 4. Job 4, 3 and 4. Isaiah 35, verse 3. And make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way,